Remember all those anti-war protesters when President Bush was president? Well, what happened to them? Where are they now that President Obama has led us into a military action in Libya? Here now asking that same question, David Boaz, Executive Vice President of the Cato Institute. David, welcome back to Freedom Watch. What has become of the anti-war movement in the United States, whether it's progressives on the left or libertarians on the right?
Well, that's a very good question, except for that part about libertarians being on the right. I think libertarians are neither right nor left. But it's a good question.
Go ahead.
Where did the anti-war rallies go? And I think one clear answer is that a lot of the anti-war energy in the middle of the last decade was directed at President Bush. And when President Bush was on his way out, when the Democrats took Congress, when Barack Obama rose to prominence, and then after Obama won, you can see a steady drop-off in people going to anti-war rallies, really around the world and in this country. And so you have to wonder, is it the case that a lot of these people were more partisan against Bush than they were committed against the war? We've now got both wars that Bush started continuing to go, and now, of course, there hasn't been much time to organize rallies against Libya, but now the president has gotten us into a third military conflict in a Muslim country. So we'll see if the anti-war movement will come back now that it's clear that Barack Obama is not going to keep his promise to end this war in 2009.
I suspect that you and I agree on this, but in my view, the authorization to use military force, which is the statute by which the Congress authorized President Bush and his successors to pursue anybody who they felt was a threat to the United States anywhere they wanted, with an open end, no time limit on it, no identification of the people he could pursue, is absolutely unconstitutional. Doesn't comply with the statutes and doesn't comply with the Constitution. But at least, David, at least there was a debate in the Congress before it happened. In the case of this thing in Libya, the president pulled it off when the Congress was on spring break and the president was in Brazil, knowing that he could get away with this, knowing that there could not be any debate. Which is worse?
Well, I think it's absolutely clear that going to Congress is better than not going to Congress. And in this case, he didn't. And there have been a number of people, including more establishment figures than you might think, like Senator Lugar and Senator Cornyn, Senator Jim Webb, saying you're supposed to consult with Congress. You're supposed to get authorization from Congress unless the military action you're taking is in the immediate emergency interests of the United States. And clearly that's not the case here. So the president sends a letter to the Speaker of the House saying, well, I got the UN's authorization, and so under my power as Commander-in-Chief and to conduct the foreign relations of the United States, I have taken this action. He thinks being put in charge of foreign relations authorizes you to bomb other countries?
Well, what happens if the rebels lose and Colonel Gaddafi stays in place? We recognized him as the legitimate authority, dictator and monster though he is. What do we do if that happens in the next couple of weeks? Pull our troops out and say, okay, go on, business as usual?
Well, that's what one of my friends said. He waited long enough that the rebels can't win, and so all he's doing is making Gaddafi really angry at us. I hope that's not the case. I mean, Gaddafi is a terrible guy, and I would love to see the rebels overthrow him. But you're right. It may not be enough. A no-fly zone is an act of war, but they're still telling us we're not going in with ground troops or anything. But what do we do? Do we leave the really angry Gaddafi in power because the president launched an act of war at him but then didn't go through with it? Wars are easy to begin, they're hard to end.
And this president may learn that the hard way. David, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.